like the eternal city that is Rome, where the ecclesiastical splendor of the Renaissance completely enthralls the imagination. The dome of St. Peter's rises upwards like a heavenly choir. From the topmost pinnacle, the centuries that are Rome spread out in everlasting significance.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Happy Derby Day if you live in Kentucky like myself and have Derby plans later today. But today we have on Kedon Gumerson, formerly known as Kinetic Catholic, now known as Kid Catholic. Or I got those two backwards.
Yeah.
Formerly known as Kid Catholic, now known as Kinetic Catholic. So how long ago did you make that switch? What led you to switch the name, the branding?
Right. Well, since I started it when I was like 11 with the name Kid Catholic, I always whenever somebody would ask me what happens when you're not a kid anymore, it was always like, oh, that I can worry about that later type of thing and not really think about it. But I got kind of some mentorship from the founder of Project YM, which is Project Youth Ministry. And he suggested kind of getting the switch before senior year, making it a little early. That way it begins to stick a little bit. Kind of leading up to then when you actually turn 18 and can be taken a little more seriously outside of just Kid Catholic. And so I wanted to kind of keep the same KC, the same kind of overall structure of it. And that way you kind of didn't lose the idea behind it. But then in kind of praying about it, I really stuck on Kinetic and Kinetic Ministries, because kinetic meaning like to set in motion. And that's like what we're trying to do with our own faith life, but then everybody's just to set it in motion. So I made the switch, I think officially in August. And then it's been since then. I'm still going to be called Kid Catholic by many people for a long time, and that's perfectly okay. But at least now to kind of get the ball rolling on switching it over before I turn 18.
Yeah, so you're not 18 yet.
No, I turn in June. Yeah.
And you have 17 days left of high school.
Yes.
Correct. Yes. So yeah, what's it like being a Catholic in high school? Do you go to a private Catholic school or just a public school?
So I go to a private Catholic school, and I was homeschooled through 8th grade, so it was still kind of a big adjustment as a whole. But I think that what a lot of people don't understand is that it all depends on the high school. But even like Catholic high schools, you're still going to have a lot of secularism. Like you're still going to have a lot of people who aren't faithful, a lot of people who are Catholic in name only. And so I think it is a lot easier than it would be at a public school to live out the faith. Like, don't get me wrong at all. And there's definitely several people in my school who are very faith oriented and are able to come together in that way. But it's still not like you still have kind of the pressure of your societal generation and considering sin and normality and all that type of stuff. But I think it is easier than a public school. And I'm very, very grateful that I've gone to it. I mean, I really, really like the school as a whole. So yeah, I go to a private Catholic school. But it took some adjusting to kind of be able to live out the faith for the past 4 years while still maintaining kind of social life in high school.
Yeah. So are you excited for college? I see the Franciscan University shirt there.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited. I'm really nervous. I have a twin brother, and he's going to college in Nashville. So that's still a little bit of separation, and then kind of just separation from family, from friends as a whole. But that's a part of it. So I'm excited too, while maintaining that kind of nervousness. And I'm especially excited for where I'm going at Franciscan because obviously I don't fully know the culture there. I haven't gone there yet, but I know that it'll be a lot easier to live out the faith there than it would be at other colleges. And so I'm really excited for that.
So what degree are you going for?
So I am double majoring in theology and catechetics.
That's pretty cool.
Kind of learn more and eventually become a theologian.
Yeah. So you'll learn from Scott Hahn. Scott Hahn might be your teacher.
Maybe. Hopefully, yeah.
That'll be pretty cool. So yeah, what led you to Steubenville? How did you hear about Steubenville? Because I've heard that city's becoming really Catholic. It's growing, one of the biggest Catholic populations, growing Catholic populations. So did you hear about it on Matt Frad's podcast?
I honestly don't remember how I heard about it. I know that my mom maybe had brought it up to me first. I think I heard it first from her, honestly, or from a Steubenville conference,
Mhm.
going to one of those. But genuinely, I can't I struggle to remember how I first heard of it just because I've wanted to go there for so long. Like since freshman year, it's been on my mind. Sophomore year was sophomore year was when I visited, and when I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm 1,000% got to end up here. So I can't remember how I first heard of it, but I know that I've just been drawn to it for years, and that it's been like the college that I've had my eye on from the get go. Which I feel really blessed to have had that. That I didn't have a
Yeah.
lot of stress with choosing a college, just because I kind of had my mind set on what I wanted.
Hmm. So I dropped out of college, then went to community college, and now, so I got a degree in electricity, which was a waste of time. So I'm thinking of going back to college for something like theology or whatever.
Right?
So I might be joining you at Steubenville sometime in the future.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. So yeah, what's it like? What's it like being a famous Catholic? Because you have quite a bit of YouTube subscribers. Like, what's it? What is the reaction from your family and people who don't know you? Like, do they treat you differently?
Right. Well, honestly, it's a little bit hard to tell. I think that especially in comparison, um, to some other people, I personally don't like to consider myself like a famous Catholic.
Yeah.
But no, I do have like more of a following than I even think sometimes. And it kind of hits me when I realize it. But no, I think that like obviously I think I have a great group of friends, and they'll make jokes sometimes like, oh, he's just a celebrity, all this type of stuff. But no, I think it's pretty cool. I get a lot of support from my family. I remember uh, I think especially in like the Oklahoma Catholic world, because Oklahoma is only 3% Catholic. And
Hmm.
so I think especially where I'm most like well known is in the Oklahoma Catholic world. So any Oklahoma Catholic event, you have people. And so I think the first time that I got like recognized, I was at the zoo. And it was like right after COVID, and then this guy was like, "Hey, can I get a picture?" And I was like, "Sure." So it's kind of like a realization of that. But I don't think I don't like to kind of consider. I don't like to think about it honestly, and I don't think about it most of the
Yeah.
time. Like I am that I do have that many people watching. Like for me, it's just become so normal that it's just like, oh, what I do is I post videos because I'm passionate about it because I'm trying to build my prayer life and it helps me. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
um, yeah, I mean, I get a lot of support from my family, and then from my mom from the beginning has been super helpful. So I've been very appreciative of that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool as well. So you mentioned like how it helps your prayer life. So like, what has been the impact of having this YouTube channel on your own spirituality? And you said you started it at 11, so you weren't even a teenager then. So how do you think that has helped you grow into the man you are today, young man, even?
Yeah, no, it's helped so much. So I started it when I was 11, and I had just attended the Catholic Family Conference in Wichita. And so after that, I just thought that like I clearly knew everything there was ever to know about theology, and so obviously I could do this, and so I would teach it and all this stuff. And so I started the YouTube channel, but I just like having it a priority to go back and make a video every week because I've been posting a video every single Tuesday for 6-7 years.
Hmm.
And so making it a priority to go back and make a video every week, one, like it just allowed me to keep learning. If I wanted to do a topic and I didn't know about it, I had to research it. I had to learn. I had to come up with what the truth is. But then
Yeah.
beyond that, whenever there were kind of like little dips in my faith life, or whenever I felt myself not praying as much, and I would go back to record a video, it was like I was led back in that spiritual nature. It was like
Hmm.
I can't sit here and talk about God if I'm not going to talk to God myself. And so I think that helps so much, and just with the opportunities that it's blessed me with, and the places that the ministry as a whole has kind of allowed me to go. It's just been super spiritual, impactful, and so my prayer life. Obviously, it's not perfect, but it is. I like to consider it at least pretty strong,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of that is because of the ministry, because God guiding me to start the ministry in the first place as just an 11-year-old.
Mm-hmm. So at 11, you were already pretty far ahead of where I was when I was 11. And you're making me feel old now. You still being in high school, but I'm only 21, so not too much.
Right.
So yeah, like, have you got into writing or anything along that lines? Like, is there a potential book in the works?
So there was for a while. Then high school got me. So no. I wrote the foreword for a book. I do want to eventually. I think kind of where I'm at is that I want to know more. Like you know what I mean? Like I want to have kind of a deeper knowledge, because I feel like I could right now. But I feel like if I am going to write something, it's not, I don't want it to be because I could. I want it to be because there's something deep there that I want to, and that I feel the need to, you know what I mean? And so not yet. I want to eventually though. Like that's on the list of goals.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing to pick up in college. That's how I got into writing. I was just bored in a college dorm room, and it was during COVID, so that might explain some of it. No socialness or whatnot, but yeah, that's writing's sort of along the lines of video making, that by writing about God, you also have to be practicing your faith.
Right.
So I've experienced that in my own life. But yeah, I guess going back a bit, you said you've like done conferences, you've given talks at conferences. How many conferences have you spoken at so far?
I don't know if I have a count, honestly. I mean, not as many as like the big Catholic speakers, obviously, but I've spoken at, I think probably the biggest conference I spoke at was in CYC. And then I've spoken at, what else have I spoken at? I've spoken at the Catholic Family Conference. There's been a lot of like different conferences, different churches, schools, especially that I've been blessed to be able to go and speak to. And so it's led to a lot of awesome opportunities also, but I don't think I have a count of the places, at least.
So when did you start giving those talks? At what age?
So my first speaking engagement was when I was 12. And it was my own church in front of like kids that I knew. And I was petrified. And I remember like I was practicing in my room, like word for word what I was gonna say, like for hours ahead of time. And then it's gotten to the point where like I've kind of been able to grow with it, that I don't really, I personally, when I give a talk, I don't like to have exactly in mind what I'm going to talk about ahead of time. I like to kind of let the Holy Spirit guide me a little bit and just let it kind of come. So I've been able to grow in kind of the skill set as a whole too. But yeah, the first speaking engagement was when I was 12, and then it especially really started to take off 8th grade year. So I guess I would have been 13 then.
So what are your favorite things to talk about? Do you have like a certain aspect of the Catholic religion that you like to talk about the most?
So it really depends, especially on what the church is asking me to talk about or what they're going over. What I like to talk about is prayer life. More specifically, I think because most of my talks are given to young people. I have given talks to adults, but most of them are to young people. And I think that kind of my favorite thing is to talk to a group of high schoolers or middle schoolers about living their faith in our world, in our society, and with the internet, with social media, like everything that comes with our generation is like there's so much and there's so much to account for, and there's so much that needs to be talked about and not ignored and not pushed under the rug. And so I think I like talking about that because I think there's a level of relatability there too, that like I'm able to connect with them on a deep way, and kind of understand that. And so I think that's probably my favorite kind of aspect to look at. As a whole, I've talked about purity. I've talked about the significance of vocations. I've talked about the importance of self-love. There have been an array, but I think if I had to pick like a go-to favorite, it's probably that one.
Yeah. So have you noticed like any positive experiences in the people that you've talked to, or like any positive feedback?
So
any
yes.
negative feedback even?
Yes. So I think in-person talks, I get a lot of positive feedback, and I'm really, really grateful for that. I think especially because the people who would give negative feedback wouldn't come in the first place.
Yeah.
But no, I get a lot of positive feedback. I get a lot of kids asking or wanting to start YouTube channels after it too. So I think I get a lot of positive feedback. I think a lot of the negative feedback comes online, comes in the YouTube comment section. I've learned to just kind of allow it, to just kind of not respond, because I don't think that that's the best place for an interaction. But I think that's where most of my negative feedback comes. I've kind of had the mindset that as long as there's no foul language, I'm not going to delete any comment. I'm going to let it be there. But I'm not gonna engage either. But yeah, I've had a lot of negative feedback on a lot of, because I've covered a lot of hot topics kind of in the YouTube channel as a whole. But I think I've kind of learned to not let it affect me as a whole, because you can't change somebody's mind through a comment section. You can just pray for them is the most you can do. So yeah, I think in person has been a lot of positive though.
So yeah, what has been your favorite YouTube video to make so far? Does one come to mind?
I've gotten that question and I struggle with it so much because I love so many of my videos. I think I really, really like whenever I make a pro-life video. I've made a lot. I think because that's something that I see as like the most important thing the most important issue that there is in our world. And it's something that even though that video may not have as many views that week, or even if only pro-life people would watch it, I still feel like when I'm recording it, it has like a deeper impact, like a bigger, if nothing else, that I'm able to talk about it. And so I think I really like those, not because it's controversial or it gets attention, but because I feel that it's the most significant thing there is to talk about in our world. But other than that, I don't know. There've been so many great ones about. I don't know. There's been a lot of fantastic ones. I like looking at. I do this section in a video called Saint of the Week, and so I really like all my Saint of the Weeks, especially when I've done a lot of early church fathers, and so I like those as well.
Who's your favorite early church father?
Yeah, that's so difficult. Oh my goodness. I mean, it sounds a little generic. My thing just froze. Are you there?
Oh yes.
Awesome.
You're still there as well.
It sounds a little generic. St. Paul. I also really, really like St. Augustine and Confessions. I'm a big. I don't know if fan's the right word, but I love that book.
Yeah, it's definitely a classic.
Yes.
Yeah, like what are your favorite books? Confessions, is that your favorite?
I think if I had to choose my favorite book of all time, well, outside scripture, my favorite book of all time, it would be The Divine Comedy by Dante.
Yeah.
Love that book so much. I studied it over the summer. I took a class over Dante over the summer. And it's just, I mean, I just love that book. I think every kind of paper I've written in high school since that book, and it's like choose a novel. That's what I go to. That's my go-to book. I really like it. It's like, and again, it's not theologically accurate, but that's also not the point. It's just really, really cool to see the spirituality in it. I love that book. Yes.
So what's your favorite book of the Divine Comedy? Like, hell, purgatory, or heaven? Paradiso, or I can't say the Latin terms.
Right. So, it's hard to choose a favorite because I like them all in a lot of different ways, because Inferno has a lot more kind of controversy in it. Like Dante, especially at the time, like he puts popes in hell, like all this, like there's a lot more controversy there.
Yeah.
But then I really, really like Paradiso because it's like which is heaven, because it's like all of the kind of questions that Dante has throughout Purgatorio and Inferno, and where he's seeing all this, maybe what he thinks is injustice, or he doesn't understand it completely. The real it's just answered so beautifully in Paradiso when talking to St. Peter and and kind of understanding like it's not up to us to, our minds are not supposed to fully understand. And I forget who's talking to him, but there's even this part where someone's kind of scolds Dante the pilgrim, and then he's like, who do you think that you are, that you can question all of this? And that's just, I really, really love that part, because it just goes to show that we can't fully understand, and that's okay. And that's the point. And that there's a beauty there. So I really, really like that too, because it's hard to describe heaven. It's like, you can't, obviously it's impossible. But I think Dante writes it beautifully.
Yeah. So I'll give you another hard question while we're doing the hard questions. What would be your advice to like some kid going into middle school? Like he's over summer break. He's like about to go into middle school. What would your advice be to him? Particularly a boy, I guess, because
regarding like living out the faith.
Yeah.
Well, mine, okay. It's hard in middle school too, because I think in middle school you have this idea that what matters most is fitting in and being liked in that sense. And I think that it's really, really hard to avoid that phase completely. But I think my number one piece of advice to a boy going into middle school is that the idea like that it's not considered cool to be Catholic, that it's considered weird to not sin, and that is perfectly okay, and that's fine, and that it's not going to be, and that's a part of the point. And so I think it's hard to summarize that kind of advice in one small sentence, but if nothing else, it would just be like, to whenever you kind of feel a sense of maybe you're not fitting in because you're Catholic, so you want to kind of put the faith behind you, separate your faith and school life. And that's the biggest thing is I think a lot of middle schools and high schoolers have church over here and school over here, and then they don't kind of conflate the two. I think it needs to be. I think they need to work together, because your church has to be in your life in general, and that's a part of your school life, because school is a big part of your life. And so I think that it would be to not separate those. Just bottom line, don't separate your school life and your faith life. Intertwine them, because that'll help a lot.
Mm-hmm. So that's definitely one of my big regrets, not practicing any religion during those high school years more aptly, but during middle school, I guess I played basketball, and there's like Christian basketball camps, so that was the extent of my spirituality back then. Growing up as a Baptist, a Southern Baptist, that was definitely fun. I'll give you another hard question if you're ready for this one. It'll be harder, I think.
I'm ready.
So, if you could speak to yourself when you were 11, what advice would you give to your past self?
Oh man, these are hard questions.
Or is there anything that you would like to tell them, like anything that you would say, "Oh, I accomplished this when I was 17"?
Right. Honestly, I don't know if this adequately answers the question.
Go ahead.
I can't think of a piece of advice, because like obviously throughout my middle school years and my high school years, I made mistakes, but I don't know if I would advise him on those, because I think those mistakes have kind of helped to shape me into kind of the spiritual life that I have now. I think what I would do is honestly say, like, just thank you for gaining the passion for me at such a young age, and starting the YouTube channel after the conference. Like even though my intent when I started that channel definitely was not, I'm going to keep this going for years and make this a big thing and allow it to deepen my spiritual life. Like that wasn't necessarily what I was thinking. It did happen. And so I think it would just be a thank you. You know what I mean? For that especially.
That's a really good answer. A really wise answer for a 17-year-old. Wiser than something I would say.
Thank you.
So yeah, congrats on being a good influence through all of your teenage years, even before you were a teenager. There's not many teenagers out there, Catholic teenagers, making videos And it's definitely helpful. It's like a lot of those Catholic teenagers who see someone that looks like them that's going through the same experiences. Uh, so do you have plans to keep this up until you're like 80 years old? You're still going to be making videos?
Well, who knows what I'll be doing then? I think right now, I have plans to continue making videos at Franciscan. I think I'll also have like better resources there.
Yeah.
I want to get ideally kind of more people involved rather than just one person making a video. And so I think
Hmm.
that other students at Franciscan, like the guy I'm rooming with, is a little bit of an influencer, but specifically in the pro-life community, like he does a whole bunch of pro-life advocacy. And so I
Yeah.
think getting more people kind of involved in the channel in general and continuing it. I think after Franciscan, I know that I want to go into ministry. I know that I want to keep giving talks. I don't know exactly what that'll look like. But I think that
Mhm.
Franciscan will kind of provide the right resources to get a better idea of what it needs to look like. So right now, there's no plan on ending the channel anytime soon.
Mhm. Yeah, so when I'm 80, 84, you'll still be around. You'll be 80. So it's a long time from now.
Yes.
Um, yeah, have you ever considered like becoming a priest or becoming a monk or even a deacon? Anything along
Right.
those lines?
So I have discerned it a lot. Obviously, things could change. Right now, I feel called to the married life. I feel called to bring children into the world to raise them up in the faith. Obviously, things could change. So I never like saying, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna get married," because you
Yeah.
never know. But right now, that's where I feel called. I've wanted to be a deacon. I prayed about being a deacon later on in life. Um, but
Mhm.
I think right now I'm called to the vocation of marriage. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm also considering becoming a deacon, but we have quite a bit of time. You have to be 35, I'm pretty sure. That's the minimum.
Right.
Um, yeah, so if you start a family, would you help your, like, if your uh, child wanted to start a YouTube channel and even take on the Kid Catholic moniker, would you allow them to do that?
Probably, for sure, for sure, for sure. I'm not gonna knock that down. Absolutely, absolutely.
The only reason I asked that is because you can go back and watch this interview when he becomes a
Yeah.
YouTube star, if that's still around even then.
Right. Right.
Um, so yeah, you've already started your own business. I've seen that you turned it into an LLC. Um, so what do you do with this business? What are your plans? Like, do you have plans of opening up a store of sorts, a studio even?
So what we're kind of trying to do is the more people I get involved, um, the plan isn't completely clear as of this moment. I know that. So my mom, we kind of give her the nickname Momager, because she kind of helps
Mhm.
manage the a lot of what we're doing. So to be completely honest with you, don't even fully know what an LLC means. What I do know is that it was needed, and that we're kind of the more we venture, like there's an online shop right now, but the more we venture, I know that I want to have something in mind for this ministry even past college that leads to just um, evangelization in whatever way possible, and if that means that there has to be a business attached to it, because it was for some reason that we chose to not do a nonprofit because there was something issue with the nonprofit. I don't know, some complicated fancy
Yeah,
stuff. um but that we decided to do it. So yeah.
yeah. So I'm currently considering turning Catholicism for the Modern World into a nonprofit. Still debating, I guess. There's some the difference between like an LLC and a nonprofit is that the LLC is more oriented towards one person. Like, if they want to continue their business throughout their entire lifetime, like a nonprofit, I could step down after a year, and then the business could still run.
Right.
Uh, yeah, I think nonprofits rely more on donors and stuff, but um, lots of boring stuff right there. Lots of boring
I agree. Yes.
economics. So yeah, do you plan to do your ministry as a full-time job, or are you thinking of becoming like a theology teacher or something like that?
Right now, I don't know. I mean, either both are on the table. I think there's a lot on the table, or if I end up being more speaker oriented. I mean, I don't know, which is why I think I'm glad that I'm going to Franciscan, because I'm hoping at least that kind of by the time I graduate, that plan will be a little more clear, and it'll depend on where the ministry is at, and it'll depend on where my speaking career is at, as to kind of what happens with that. But yeah, I think both are on the table. I know that whatever it is, I want to be able to talk about God to people, and in whatever manner that comes in.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you mentioned Steubenville. We'll definitely have to get you on Matt Fradd's Pints of Aquinas, since his studio's in Steubenville.
Right.
So you're walking distance from him, his cigar shop. So, have you ever met Matt Fradd or any like of the big Catholic influencers? Or
So I met Scott Hahn. I've met Dr. Edward Surrey. I actually went on a pilgrimage with him.
That'd be a fun pilgrimage. Where was the pilgrimage to? Not
I was to the Holy Land.
Oh, that's really cool.
So it was awesome. I haven't met him. I've met a little bit less of an influencer, but I've met Tim Staples. And then who else? I'm blanking. I mean, I've met several, just not some of the bigger ones like that.
So who has been your favorite to meet? Was it Scott Hahn?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Okay, I think probably Dr. Edward Surrey, just because we got to know him so well. That like during the trip, it was we could call him Ted, not Dr. Surrey. So I think because we got to know him so well and build that personal relationship too, that he was probably my favorite to meet, to get to know. Also.
So yeah, there's not many young people like us out there making YouTube content. Have you ever heard of well, I'll ask you this first, like who else do you know that's out there like our age, 21, 17, that range? Do you have any favorite YouTubers along those lines?
So I used to I used to know a lot of, I think, to be completely honest with you, I think where I am the most kind of hypocritical is that I don't watch YouTube, like at all. Like I really don't watch YouTube. Not anymore. I haven't for a while. Like I'll post on it. I don't watch it at all. And so because of that, I mean, I do feel like I am behind, like in the YouTube community. Like I knew the Catholic YouTubers from like 4 years ago, but I haven't kept up with it. So I honestly think I don't know as many of the current ones, other than the big ones, obviously, as many of the current ones as I'd like to. But which is part of why I'm grateful for this connection, right? Because then it can lead me into kind of where to find that larger community.
Yeah, and I'm definitely willing to help out. That's my secret, just helping other people. The more you help other people, the more people help you. So it all works out.
Right. I appreciate it.
There's have you ever heard of the religious hippie or Amber?
Yes.
I think she's one of the big people that are out there actually helping out like the teenage range. For her, it's the women. So I guess you're serving that role, helping out the young teenagers.
Right.
Do you ever worry that once you become like 25, you'll no longer be able to speak to that age range or to be relatable to them?
No, I mean, that's fair. Haven't really thought about it, but no, that's a good point. I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully I can kind of still get an idea of how they work. I mean, I feel like the biggest thing I could lose is the relatability. I feel like I could still talk to them, obviously, but no, that's a good point. Hopefully not, I guess.
Yeah, and I would look at like Jason Everett or Father Mike Schmitz. They're talking to that age range, and they're much older. Though they look young, they still look pretty young, both of them. Yeah, I think it is the reason for that's just they're living holy lives, and so that translates to becoming like a child. They appear as children almost.
Right.
So yeah, speaking of like holiness, what do you think is the number one secret to becoming a saint? I
Oh,
ask everyone this question.
you are firing the great questions, man. Okay, so
Thank you.
number one secret to becoming a saint. Well, it's hard to choose one.
Yeah.
Honestly, again, I don't know if this is an adequate answer.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the rosary. The rosary is my absolute like I just think ultimately like when it comes like when it comes to becoming a saint, it's just I how I like to say it is that everything comes back to prayer. Like you want to treat other people with kindness, you have to love other people as yourself. You want to love yourself, then you have to love God first. You want to love God first, then you have to pray. Like everything comes back to prayer. And I think that the rosary is just so beautiful because sometimes like when we're praying or when we're trying to start a spiritual life and we don't know where to start, like the rosary is just it's right there and it's simple. But then beyond that, I think that the rosary just adds a sense of calmness and like I feel so spiritually at peace whenever I'm praying the rosary. That it draws me to the Blessed Virgin Mary, and through her to God on such a deeper level. That I think the rosary. I think it's so. I mean, obviously, like the saints existed before the rosary, but I think the rosary because it's just so impactful.
Yeah, that's a great answer because you can learn so many different virtues just by praying the rosary, by meditating on the mysteries. I think my answer would be love of God. So that would be my answer. But so yeah, who's your favorite saint?
So, you have great questions. So okay, it's hard. I have like three. I have three go-to favorites.
Name them all.
Saint Clare of Assisi.
That's a good one. I was actually or I'm planning on reading this book like next week. So,
oh yeah.
Saint Francis and Saint Clare.
I got to visit Assisi in Italy, and so I was just kind of moved there. I think blessed.
Amazing.
Yes, blessed. Oh, this one's a blessed, so it's not a saint, but blessed Bartolo Longo, who was the Satanist who converted.
Mm-hmm.
I think his story is just mind blowing. It's amazing. And then also Saint Tarcisius. I really like the story of Saint Tarcisius. Saint Tarcisius is probably the one that I talk the most about in my talks, because he can be very relatable to young people. And so I also got to visit the catacombs, and so I got to see kind of where Saint Tarcisius was a little bit also. So those are probably my three favorites.
So Saint Tarcisius, what century was he from? I'm actually unfamiliar with him.
Fourth or third, something early Christianity. But he basically, his story is that he was 12 years old, and they had tried, like there were Christians imprisoned, and they had tried to give them the Eucharist, deliver the Eucharist to them, but they were unable to. They were caught every time. So Saint Tarcisius, as a 12-year-old, volunteered himself because he figured that nobody would suspect a 12-year-old of delivering the Eucharist to these prisoners, and so he volunteered himself, and on his way to do that, he was murdered by some of the boys nearby who saw that he was holding the Eucharist. But the Eucharist disappeared in his hands before the boys could steal it, snatch it. But he's just I think he's one of my favorites because it just goes to show that. And I mean, there are whenever I talk about him to young people, there are some clarifications like, I'm not saying you're going to get murdered. Like, you know what I mean? Like kind of explaining that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think that it goes to show that age really does that. Like, sure, I think the only way that age plays an impact is like knowledge. Like you've got to be a little bit older to have more knowledge, more wisdom. But when it comes to love of God, like age doesn't affect that at all. And I think Saint Tarcisius is such a great example of that. And so I really like him, especially, and kind of his story also.
Yeah, that's a really good saint right there. He kind of reminds me of Saint Therese of Lisieux.
Mm-hmm.
Have you read her book yet, or do you know a lot about her story?
I know her story. I haven't read her book. No.
You definitely have to read that. You would enjoy that greatly. That's that's one of the books like I put off for a long time, being a man. But yeah, reading a book by a Carmelite nun, I can relate to that a lot. Just she was also a young person, like goes through her life as she was a young person reacting to all these events in the world, and just it teaches love of God and like the childlikeness needed to love God. So
Right.
that's the one book I'm telling you to read. Read that this summer break. You go on summer break in 17 days.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, I guess to transition into summer break, do you have any big summer break plans?
So actually, so what I think is great is last summer was the busiest summer I've ever had. Was packed the whole
Mm,
time, slammed, had so many things. This summer, I have the orientation at Franciscan in June, and then other than that, I'm completely clear. So I can spend kind of the last little bit with family, getting stuff prepared for the dorm room and preparing for college. But it's probably the most free summer I've had in a long time, and so I'm very very excited about that because last summer was absolutely hectic. So I kind of have a breather for this one.
yeah, definitely take it easy because it's a big adjustment going to college.
Yeah.
Do you have any fears about college? Um, Anything you're worried about?
I mean, there is some fear in just the newness of it. I think a lot of people in my personal life would know that I'm someone who who doesn't really like change as a whole, but change is necessary. Change is a
Yeah.
part of it. And so I think there's just some fear in that. Um, and obviously there's definitely things to worry about that I haven't even thought of yet. But I think
Mhm.
that as a whole, kind of the excitement for it and the readiness balances it out because as much as I don't like change, like it is time. Like I'm ready for it. And so I'm excited in that sense too.
Yeah, it's you I think you get used to college after after 2 days. I think that
Mm,
first day is a little strange. You're adjusting to living with a roommate. You don't know your roommate, do you?
I do, yes.
Oh,
Well,
dude.
so I didn't know him personally before we were like roommate searching, but
Okay.
I know who it is now. We've kind of got each other. He's a influencer in the pro life community, so
Mhm.
speaks at a lot of pro life rallies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
So he'll be a good roommate for you. He'll be a
yes,
good influence. That's
yes.
important. You spend a lot of time with your roommate, and just so I was in university for a year. I went to college, or my roommate was like one of my high school best friends, so we definitely knew each other. We never had any disagreements before college, but I think just living with somebody that long, you'll just small things will start to irk you. Like he would always play on his phone. He had keyboard clicks on there. It's like
Mm.
I was trying to study. I just hear click, click, click. That drove me crazy. We never had any big disagreements or anything like that. Um, so yeah, it's whoever your roommate is, they can help you grow. So that's a really good fit for you. Um, what what are you excited about the college lifestyle?
Well, again, I think I'm just excited for that newness a little bit, like that
Hmm.
kind of change of scenery. I don't know fully what to expect for the college lifestyle, for what things will look like. But I
Hmm.
think that's okay. I think it's good for me to not know what to expect. And then I'm kind of just excited for the whole new nature of it, for a whole new group of people to kind of get to know, to grow alongside. And so I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready for that as a whole.
Yeah, and I'll say you have the bachelor life to look forward to, having your own apartment. That's I think I like that better than college, but I guess I'm more of an introverted person, so I like the silence, the quietness of living in the apartment. Um, yeah, I'm kind of remembering all my crazy stories in college. I think it was like during the first week, everyone was still wild, I guess you could say, still moving in and stuff. So it was at like 12 o'clock at night, and I just hear they're playing baseball in the dorm, like the dorm hall. they like have an actual baseball game, bats, and they even have home bases, and so it was it sounded like bulls were running through the hall, and I was trying to sleep. So that's one of the things I didn't like. I remember sort of a funny story. There was like the first weekend, everyone's taking a shower, everyone's in the bathroom brushing their teeth. Um, but like the week after that, you rarely see anyone taking showers. So I don't know how that happens. But yeah, you'll learn all these stories. You'll pick up on things. Um, I think one of the best parts about college is just the cafeteria. So I think I got 2 free meals a day, all you could eat. So just going there and having a friend group that you share a table with, that's definitely a good thing. Um, so yeah, there's a lot about college. You'll definitely enjoy it. Um, so yeah, going back a bit, I guess, to when you were 11. Uh, so what was your experience like once you started to get subscribers, start to get views? Like when did the realization happen that you were going to be doing this like in a professional sense almost, or that you were going to be dedicating a lot of your time to it, dedicating an identity to it?
Well, I think there wasn't like one exact moment of realization. I think it came to happen. I remember after I posted my first video, the next day I went from 2 to 12 subscribers, and for me that was like the biggest deal that could ever happen. So I was freaking out
Yeah.
about that. But I don't think there was like one exact moment of realization. I just think that the more I got into it, I think I also realized how much I loved it, how much I loved doing it, and
Hmm.
so how much I didn't want to stop. And so I think as kind of that happened and as the talks began, I kind of began to, I don't know if there was like a moment of realization, just kind of began to understand that this was going to be a bigger deal than even initially intended. Also,
Hmm. Yeah. So I think this has been a really good talk, and hopefully this helps a lot of people out. Um, So yeah, do you have are you nervous about high school finals? I know those will probably be next week for you.
right. So luckily, for my high school classes, since I'm a senior, I get exempt from most of them.
Cool.
I'm doing some online college courses that I have finals for, and so a little nervous for those. But the
Hmm.
high school ones, I'm good.
Yeah, I didn't know that seniors got exempt from a lot of the finals, I guess, because I was a COVID high
Right,
school senior. So like my entire second semester was just like cut in half.
right,
Like we just heard about COVID, then we didn't go back to school. So I
right.
had a really long summer break. I think it was like 5 months total of summer break. Um, so yeah, where can the viewers find you? On the YouTube channel, of course, but do you have like other social media pages and a website even?
So I have a website. It's kineticcatholic.com. I have a YouTube channel. Again, Kinetic. I have an Instagram, which at Kinetic Catholic. I think for that one, an Instagram, but just looking up
Yeah,
Kinetic Catholic will work. And then there's
mhm,
also a Facebook as well. So I have all the basically big social medias.
yeah. So I encourage all my viewers to go check out your ministry, especially the young viewers, if there's any out there. You need good influences, and so you're definitely doing God's work, Keaton. Um, One last thing I'll ask. I kind of forgot to ask this. So, are you familiar with Blessed Carlo Acutis?
Yes, yes,
Um, so he was, I guess, me and you both being young people. He was like one of the first young people to do things in the internet age, and he's a blessed even. So,
yeah,
I think we're kind of working on what he left behind. We're carrying on the mission.
I agree.
So, yeah, has he influenced you at all in any way? Like,
So he has with a sense of like reassurance. Wait, was that a word? Reassurance. That's what I was looking for.
yeah,
Reassurance for kind of living out the faith in the age of distractions as a whole. I got to see his tomb in Assisi over the summer, and so that was really, really cool, and left me spiritually impacted as well to like be kind of with him, knowing that the internet that he had has even grown drastically since then, and the distractions has even become greater. And now he didn't let that waver him in his faith or in his spiritual life, and he even used it for good. And so I think that kind of that has impacted me, and spiritually as well, to understand that no matter how great the distractions get, no matter how widespread the internet becomes, to kind of not waver in that sense.
Mm-hmm. And it just it goes to show that young people like us can become saints. So we really just have to persevere in the faith. When you go off to college, keep persevering. I'm sure just listening to you, I think you already know a lot of things that will help you avoid even the pitfalls I was committing like a year ago even. So you'll be Saint Kedon Gumerson one day.
Hopefully everybody can be.
I guess I can't be Saint Michael, so maybe Saint Snellen or something.
Saint Snellen, that works. Yeah.
That'd be a good one. Saint Snellen the Silent. I would like that. Kind of has like a monastic feel to it. But yeah, thanks for joining me today, Kedon. It's been a really great show.
Of course, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Definitely. So I hope to see you pick up more interviews after this. I want to see the Matt Fradd interview in particular.
Yes, that'd be great.
His interview with the religious hippie was really huge. So God willing.
Absolutely.
Thanks to everyone for tuning in.